Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Thought I'd make a video detailing out how we actually went about making these seats for the SRV-200. We started off with these Chromcraft chairs. They're kind of a diamond tuck, naugahyde or vinyl, aluminum base. You may have seen them in a particular TV series briefly. Anyway, we've been sitting on a set of these things, and they had their share of cigarette burns and weird scuffs, so we thought, let's put them in a boat. They've been kind of sitting around my garage for a while, and just kind of felt like maybe we could put them back to back in these sort of seat pods, and these pods would sort of open up like a reverse gull wing. They kind of look like a little boat in itself. Of course, any good art project warrants bringing out some pastels, I guess. It's all I had at the time, but I was really kind of feeling this whole laid-back, supersonic 70s vibe. A little light on the side of these seat towers. So let's pick some fabrics. Let's make this happen. First we got to get this whole sort of palette of colors together and what we want this boat to look like, but we settle on this olive green. Well, time to get busy with these seats. Fortunately, the bentwood plywood bases are in pretty good shape, but they do need some protection from the water. So this is the first of several coats of white bilge paint, epoxy basically. We took the old vinyl, cut it up, and used the patterns to sew some new seat covers. Well, somebody did the sewing, it wasn't me. And here's those seats back to back. It's a thing, I think. And here's the first two seats with their new green coverings. I think they look pretty good. They're still awaiting cushions. Of course, the old cushion backs were thin plywood and they were completely warped. So we had to make some new ones. Here we see some ABS plastic being bent using a heat gun. And we're liberally sanding, roughing up the surface to prep it for new foam. And for now, these new cushions will simply just be clicked into place with that heavy-duty Velcro. And in addition to stapling the fabric around this new bent ABS shell, we've also attached that Velcro with staples. Here you see one piece of foam going in. And of course we're going to make these seats heated because it's nothing like being cold on a boat. The first of the cushions. Looks like we're going to need a spot for those wires to go. But overall, I think it's looking pretty good. By the way, we're going to use this ribbed fabric somewhere else in the boat. Let's start on that butt cushion. We're going to go a little thicker on this one, I think. but it's also going to be heated. And there you go. 1 of 4. These seats got to be attached somehow, so we've used 3/4 inch marine board and bolted it to the bottom. Well, we figure we better plug up the holes, but also all that water that gets splashed over the bow is going to need to go somewhere. So these holes go directly through the seat and all the way through the bottom plate. Well, let's get to the fun stuff. Now it's time to see how these seats are going to mock up in the boat. You can see we're starting to bevel the edges of the top of the plywood to sort of conform to the roundness of the chair itself. Now the sides are starting to be tucked in a little bit, and of course those also have to be sort of curved to the exact shape of the seat and beveled as well. And here they're getting tucked in a little bit further. And now the seats almost sort of overhang as if they were kind of bubbling out of the seat tower. And here we've got a lid on it. There's still a lot to do though. Right now we're just worried about getting these seats sort of tucked into the seat tower so they look like they're built into it. And here we've trimmed the ends. You see that we've got a 3/4 inch ply center plate. And now we're adding the lock mechanisms to the top of the towers, which in turn will hold the seats closed. Right now they're just in rough glue-up stage with some screws to secure things together, and we're just sort of doing the final details of the mechanics. Here we're fitting one of the chairs, which has received a plywood bottom. You can see the holes where the wires come out, which also serve as drains. And there's the locks way up above. And now we've got 2 of the hinges installed. You can see how the chair flips forward to reveal the compartment behind. Here's another shot of the wires. You can see the long stainless steel hinges. And here's both of the seats attached. There's ample storage for bumpers, life preservers, whatever you want to put in there. We did give up the ability for the seats to lay flat, as the factory seats would have done during the time. But we felt that this build required something a little bit different. And here we've gone to the fiberglassing stage to reinforce all the corners, all the glue contact points. We've flushed in the screws, so it's screwed, glued, fiberglass reinforced, and now we're also adding some additional resin to the edges where we feel we could use a little bit more water protection. Here's a shot of the seat bases, which also have to support the hinge, so they're reinforced. The fitment of the heated seat button. Here we're making the adjustable mounts for the seats. We've reinforced the side. We bolted a cleat which simply slides over a J-rail. And once you find the right spot, you just cinch it up tight, and these will bolt to the floor of the boat. And we're adding auxiliary lighting to the inside. And this block will ultimately be disguised behind a teak panel, which we'll show you later. And we're adding provisions for cigarette lighter adapter as well as USB. Most likely that USB will be upgraded in the future. And finally, we get to go to epoxy. Note that we've added support rails inside, so when the seats fold back down into their relative positions, they'll have some support. Here's a shot of the screws that will support the hinges, and they're also reinforced with fiberglass from the front side. And another hole on the side here, which will be for auxiliary lighting that will face the other seat, so towards the inside of the interior. Here we're working on the fitment, or the idea of the teak cap for the chair itself. There's a shot of the light illuminated, and we'll probably reconfigure the wire so it's hidden. Trying various options for perhaps a shelf made out of teak slats, which will be trimmed with aluminum on either side that could slide back and forth. So a shot of the external lighting. It's ring lit, so there's a aluminum cap on the end. And then somewhere in these boxes we'll have mounted a fuse panel for each individual seat tower. And finally, it gets wrapped. The front, we've added some MB Cord speakers. You can see that the vinyl wrapping, as well as the 1/4 inch padding underneath, has all but completely sealed against the chair itself. Here's the covers for the inside of the USB. And these outlets will be facing the outside of the boat, so they'll be tucked behind the right-hand side, say, for example, of the passenger. And here would be the aisle view the dog's getting a good look at. We still haven't fit the top caps, but once we do, the locks will secure the chairs in place snug against the other vinyl. And here's an example of that whole system sort of being concealed, with the light will illuminate behind it. And possibly some use of the Chilliwack style floor coating for the interior of the seat towers. And here's a shot of the interior, just kind of waiting for those new seat towers. And you'll see the heated seat wiring as well as speaker wiring coming out of the floor. And here's a test fit for the first tower. And here we're going back to the teak caps that will be comprised of 2 of these. The trick is molding them to the back of the chair as well as rounding them into the top of the tower itself. Here's another look at the mock-up. And you notice we've already got the channel fabric on the inside of the boat as well as the back. And here's both. A little more moving of the seats back and forth, and sort of finding the balance between how close we want the seat to be to the padded foot rail. Here you get a good idea of that sort of bubble effect. But I really think it kind of sets the boat off. The whole 1970 vibe is, I think, in effect. Here we go through the laborious task of making cushions for all these seats. But eventually we get through it. Are any of them perfect? Probably not. But I think the overall look of them looks almost theme park, groovy, fun, and soft and comfortable. Now the final step for these seats. We need to work on that teak cap that contains the lock mechanisms. But let me just show you a few more shots of the interior, which, as you can see, is still in its final stages of being finished. We really like how the lines of the gas tank cover sort of complement the lines of the white vinyl. And of course we gotta take it out a little bit to try these seats out. So here's a couple shots of that. Those teak grates, by the way, are solid teak, but they're bathroom mats, basically. And here's the final forming of the teak cap, doing the fitment of the locks, and the only thing left to do is varnish. And here's what the old interior looked like when I got the boat. I'd say it was roached. And now it's starting to look a little bit better. I'm gonna add a few more details. It's getting some New bow rails. You notice they're missing. Also some new interior pieces to match the green seats.